welcome to our first successful Women in Business in-person lunch since February. What came in March? I wish I could hug so many of you. But hey, this is our first step, right? We're in a room together and following all of our protocols, and it's just amazing to see everyone. It's probably the best thing for 2021. Great start. So, my name is Sarah Pearson. I am the Executive Vice President with the Chamber, and there's a lot of new faces for me, or some people that I've literally only seen on Zoom and have never met in person. I would like to ask if our newest members wouldn't mind standing up so we can kind of give you a welcome, a welcome to the Chamber. Thank you all. Our successful Women in Business program, we've had this, for many, many years. It's a luncheon once a month, and we're all family here. So just know that anything that's said in this room stays in this room. So we're a chamber, right? So actually, that's so not true, because it's all about who you know and who you know that knows somebody you need to know. So it's far and wide, but you're part of our chamber family now, and we're continuing to grow, which is wonderful. Through all of this, I think some businesses now see the importance even more of being part of the chamber. We never stopped working. In fact, we probably work harder than we've ever worked through all of this, and it's been very humbling, to say the least. I would like to recognize the businesses that are sponsors of our SWIB program. Memorial Healthcare System, Trustbridge, I know Pat and Jennifer are here. Guys. Boca Medical Center, those are our three movie sponsors of our program. And then our sapphire sponsors, Rock Capital, CenterState Bank, and Michelle. Thank you for volunteering last night for Yay. Florida Blue, Northwestern Mutual, and Toshiba. So let's give them all a round of applause. They absolutely support. All right. Know each other. Time to kick off the party. So before I introduce our speaker, I want to let everyone know we're Facebook Living this. So we've been doing that actually. We did that for both of our breakfasts that we've had live, and we're going to continue to do that for our events. So people that are not comfortable yet coming in-person events, they can still watch live. But I do want everyone to say hello to my dad, who's watching it right now from California. Say hello, Larry! Oh, I hope he's blushing right now. All right, so it's a pleasure to introduce Ashley. I think that she has a lot of fans in this room. I am one of them, yes, very much so. I know her biggest fan, besides Blakely, is her mom, I'm sure. She's here too, Mom. But, I met Ashley when I first started, and I loved the fact that she had a bee tattooed because she was a Red Sox fan, a Boston everything fan, Patriots, and I knew immediately I was going to like her. Yes. Either you love her or hate her, it depends, But I loved her, and I know quite a few people that, including Troy, who absolutely feels the same. But it's really been amazing to watch Ashley represent Oceans so wonderfully, and then go to Wyndham and just put these beautiful events together and see all that on Facebook. And then to see what she did, and I don't know how many people are on Facebook, but to follow what Ashley did right in the middle of this pandemic, in a time that was extremely difficult in the hospitality industry, to pivot and create her own business. So that alone is difficult. And then to create a business that's in the events world during this pandemic. But she's done such a good job of keeping us all kind of, a part of all of this through Facebook. In fact, I think I know Blakely well. I've never met her, but I've seen her grow up in the last year. So, just the sweetest thing. So thank you for letting us all be a part of your life. And now for actually presenting and sharing some of the trials, tribulations, and successes that you've had. So I'm going to read her bio. Okay, so turning disruption, the unknown and loss into a budding business during a worldwide pandemic provided the impetus for the Event Collective. Ashley's hospitable spirit and work ethic emerged while growing up in her parents' restaurants. Her own event entrepreneurship and planning began at a young age, planning events for family and friends. By the age of 19, she began her event planning professionally in the city of Boston. Ashley's career started with booking, organizing, and marketing extremely large concerts and events in multiple high-end venues. Drawn by the excitement of the event industry and the warmth of South Florida, Ashley moved to Boca Raton in 2011. Her first position in South Florida brought her straight to the beach as the Director of Marketing and Special Events for a high-volume oceanfront restaurant. Then an oceanfront resort was her next step, and eventually now the Event Collective. In addition to creating unforgettable events over her career, Ashley has earned degrees and certifications in communications, marketing, meeting and event management, wedding planning, venue management, and tourism and hospitality management. And the marketing piece is what I'm so most impressed about, because most of the time somebody might be very good at the event planning maybe, but maybe not the marketing piece. We have seen just the whole package is in Ashley, and it's really impressive. Ashley, along with her husband Matt and her 1-year-old daughter Blakely, who are both in the room, and I love that. Oh, wait a minute. And her 1-year-old golden retriever, Charlie Brown, who's not here with us today, continued to build their home and business in Boca Raton. So without further ado, Ms. Ashley Brown.
My goodness, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I have to be honest, public speaking is not the easiest thing for me, and you'll be able to tell my voice short like that. We'll get comfortable with each other. Especially the topic of myself, forget about it. But talking about the Event Collective and the path that led me to create it, now that's something I've been dying to tell this room for many, many years. If 2020 has taught me anything, it's to question myself often, if not now, when. So here I am, conquering my huge self-induced fear of public speaking and facing it straight on. I can't promise my talk today will be life-changing, only that will be the story of how I changed mine. I can certainly promise to be my most authentic self and share my story on how I turned a huge bowl of lemons into my LLC, the Event Collective by Ashley Brown. I came to my first Boca Chamber luncheon when I was 26 years old, straight off the boat from New England, as they say. I often think back to that girl that walked into that event, and God, was I intimidated. But I was also incredibly inspired by you all. I manifested today on that day. I pictured it. I knew I would get here, and I knew I would be up here. I just didn't know exactly how yet. However, I do remember thinking, I hope no one here realizes I'm not a real grown-up, and I had no business being here. And to be honest, I still feel that way a little bit today, that I'm the speaker. So, why did the chamber ask me to speak to you today? Well, I'm a tad bit crazy, and I decided in the middle of a worldwide pandemic lockdown that I would start an event planning company when events were illegal to even host in most part of the country. Logistically, it sounds like a terrible business plan, but let me explain how I got here and how it was one of the best decisions I ever made. A little backstory on me. I grew up in the hospitality industry, as Sarah said. I'm sure you've heard of the term Army brat. Well, the industry equivalent to that is restaurant kid. But instead of moving all over the place like an Army brat would, our nights, weekends, and holidays just looked a lot different than our friends. My parents ran restaurants and hotels, and my brother and I were never far from the hustle and bustle of it all. Despite our parents' warnings to never ever get into the hospitality industry, ever, my brother and I both ended up exactly there. By the age of 20, I had already gotten bored with the restaurant industry pretty quick, but I fell in love with the nightlife excitement of it all. I pivoted towards the bar and nightclub scene, and fell in love there with the event planning and production of it all. While in college, I moonlighted as a special events manager for a large nightclub, planning and producing events in the Boston area. When I was about to graduate, I was asked to help plan some weddings and events for family and friends, and again, I fell in love with another side of this industry. So weeks before I graduated with my degree in broadcast journalism, I declared to everyone and myself I had absolutely no intention ever using it. But I went back to the classroom. This time was to learn as much as I could about the event industry. But as it turns out, in this industry, and most I presume, you can't just hand a certificate to somebody, an employer or a client, and say, hire me, I'm certified. Yeah. You need experience. So I took a huge pay cut and a huge hit to my ego and started from the absolute bottom at a very well-known resort back home. So I could learn everything there was to know in their aspect of events that I had not yet experienced. I started as a server, then a bartender, then a banquet captain, on to banquet manager, and finally their wedding coordinator, all in a year's time. This was great. It was my goal. I should have had everything I wanted, but I didn't. So I was in New Hampshire, and I wanted more and I wanted out. The warmth of South Florida and the improving event industry kept calling my name. In 2011, I couldn't ignore it anymore. My then boyfriend, now husband, and I took huge job role and pay cuts again and started back at the bottom to make names for ourselves in the Sunshine State. Hi, baby! I'll explain why I wanted her to be here, if it's not obvious. Within a year's time, we were both back on track. What I'm getting at is when you take chances, they aren't always the most comfortable ones for your ego or your wallet, but perhaps both of those hits are the most necessary in your personal and professional growth. I've spent the last decade here working for 2 incredibly successful oceanfront properties. They were great positions, I had great pay, but something again was still missing for me. I learned an insane amount from my bosses, my colleagues, my clients, and my mentors. I built incredible relationships throughout my experiences and within groups of the Greater Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce. Even though 26-year-old me was intimidated at that first luncheon, I spent every opportunity since in these exact situations building and growing to get exactly here. Because through it all, I knew I had to end up here, telling you all about the Event Collective. I wish I knew then that most of us are all just faking it until we make it in business and in life, that the only thing holding us back from everything we've ever dreamed of is ourselves and the fear that we create for ourselves. That if you have any questions on how to get started, you can use groups like these to just simply ask. We spend so much time trying to fit into these rooms like this that we miss opportunities to learn from each other. Let's cut that out. We can absolutely learn something from each woman on either side of you today. Make a point to ask them today, before you leave, what is the best advice you can give me? I promise it will not be a waste of your time. Okay, so how did I get here? Well, I guess I did become a grown-up after all. I got married and had a baby, and call me cliche, but it 1,000% changed every single thing about me as a person. My husband makes me a better person, and my daughter pushes me to be great. But most importantly, they both hold me accountable to be the best version of myself. My husband and I have always committed to each other's dreams, and I think that makes all the difference in the world. They say that babies' long-term memories start at 18 months. Well, Blakey turned 18 months this weekend, so I wanted her to be here today to see her mama speak about following your dreams and facing your fears. After my daughter was born and before the world shut down, I realized my position with my company no longer fed my soul. If I was going to not make you happy, again, that decision was not easy on my ego or my wallet, but I knew it was time for a change. It was time to start the Event Collective. It's crazy how much confidence you gain in your capabilities when you grow a whole human. So then the world shut down. No one saw that coming, right? And once again, I found myself with a whole new perspective on life. I was forced to look at myself more and the people around me even more. I lost every excuse I ever gave myself for starting my own company. And my question came back, if not now, when? When the outside noise turned off, I could hear myself a lot better, and the answer was now. So I guess it was time to start thinking about logistics. How would I make it work? Where would I start? We couldn't even host events. I had a 6-month-old at home. Businesses were closing left and right. What right did I have to start one? But then I started getting messages on social media from couples planning weddings that had to change everything because of COVID. People that didn't have planners at all of a sudden had a serious need for one. And just like that, I had my first 3 clients before I even had my logo. My company is based on compassion, and COVID created a serious need for it more than ever. I talk about silver linings often, and I've even considered calling my company Silver Linings, because I truly believe that if the terrible things that happened in 2020 did not happen, I would not have had the courage to begin my company, and I wouldn't have found my beginning niche of helping couples in need of redirecting and regrouping. I've been incredibly lucky to have found other women-owned businesses with the same goals and beliefs as mine. I call them my girl gang. We have spent the last few months creating together, supporting each other, and falling in love with each other's crafts. And I absolutely lean on them all. If you don't already have yourself a girl gang, look around, you're here. You have to love what you do, or you will not be successful. That is as true for your professional life as it is your personal. We as women can have it all. Sometimes it just can't be all at once. And that's okay. Do yourself a favor. Don't ever let someone tell you you can't do something, not even yourself. You're always one decision away from a totally different life, and one mindset away from finding the silver linings all around you. If you knew how powerful you really are, you would be unstoppable. So do yourself a favor. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Thank you.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
It's got to be so scary. Tell me the biggest setback that you had when you did this and how you overcame it.
Having a baby at home. To be honest, I think I was equipped with all the tools. I knew how to kill it in marketing and event planning, putting in 60, 70 hours a week. But when you are caring for a child at home and the whole world is shut down, it was a little frustrating to say the least, because I couldn't feel like I was giving 100% to either. And I just kept saying to my husband, I'm gonna find my group. I know I'll find my group. This is the time where it's just, a little crazy, but I'll find my group. And I think I'm slowly finding it. I've been able to ask for help now. I'm time managing better. When I have time to work on the business, I give it 100%, and when I'm mom, I give that 100%.
Good for you.
Any more questions? I have a question. How did you get, it seemed like you did a lot of press. You were interviewed and all that. How did that happen? Did you use an agency or did you do it yourself?
A little bit of both. So I actually, I'm talking about my girl gang, 2 of them are here now, Rosina and Robin, right? Rosina is a very talented photographer, and Robin is an incredible florist. When I started the business, I can't tell you how much business and attention I get just from social media. Rosina reached out to me and said, listen, I'm doing these style shoots, can't do weddings right now, but we can certainly create beautiful content for our vendors, our venues, your website, etc. So we started just creating and doing these shoots and doing them safely. Go back to the question, what was it? So started doing these style shoots. And then my first couple that we chose to shoot, some of their pictures are up there, when it comes up, was an actual couple that had to cancel their wedding because of COVID. And like a lot of our couples that I was hearing from, they decided to cancel altogether. They had a huge glamorous wedding in Puerto Rico, and they had to cancel it. And they were just going to do the courthouse. And I knew the bride, and I knew the groom, and I knew that wasn't what they had dreamed for. And it kind of aligned with doing the style shoot. So I said to Rosie and Robin, I said, why don't we give them these beautiful photos so they at least have those? And we really made them feel like it was their wedding day. We did a first look with them. We had gorgeous designer gowns and hair and makeup and dress to the nine and florals, and they both just kept saying we feel like it's our real wedding day. So anyways, I knew there was a story there. I kept trying to scream it from the mountaintops, there's a story here. People aren't
about that you're not just weddings?
Yes, yeah. So as right now, I mean, I was just talking to my fellow event planner friends. Just so happens that a lot of the corporate events and fundraising events are put on hold, and weddings are still happening just differently. So I definitely do way more than just weddings. They just happen to be my niche right now, because there's certainly a need for it. But anything events, I do dinner parties. I have dinner party this weekend where it's just 10 people. Anything where you want us to come and put our little touch on your special event, no matter how big or small, or how special or how corporate, we care about.
Are you doing anything in the virtual world? Like, do you have a place there, or?
Yeah, I have a website. I need to get better at my social media, so I was kind of smiling when everyone was kind of telling me today how great my social media was, because I guess I'm my biggest critic. I always think I could do better, but yeah, we're online, and hopefully, like I said, most of my business is coming from social media, so I definitely spend as much time on there as possible.
I have a question about your logo.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people, when they first start, your logo is your brand, and it's like the hardest thing to come up with. And many people in their beginning stages of their business change their logo over and over and over until there's something that they find that they're happy with. Your logo is one of the most elegant logos I've seen, especially for a new business.
Thank you.
How did you come up with that look?
I literally dreamt about it.
I know.
No, I dreamt about it. It came to me, and I saved the piece of paper because my girlfriend, who does graphic design, I hand drew with a Sharpie exactly how I wanted it to look, and I sent her a picture. And I actually get a little bit of slack about that logo because it doesn't print very well, but it's the one I dreamt about. It's the one I want, and I'm sticking with it. Sticking with it. But yeah, I mean, I have friends that are starting businesses, and they'll send me 10 to 12 different versions of a possible logo. If I did that, I would have been driving myself crazy. So I was literally that, and unfortunately, I never got that story.
And then there was a question over here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I actually have a wedding tomorrow, and they're going to be live streaming it. A lot of companies are out there offering it. I actually went to an open house a few months ago that was literally just video maps, videos of family members and friends across the country. So the opportunity is definitely there. There's companies that are specializing in only that. But so far, I've just had live streaming, whether it's Facebook Live or something through to the J or something.
First of all, I'm so proud of you. I guess my question is, how can everyone in this room help you more with your business?
Well, thank you. It's just the girl getting support, I guess. That just I love everybody that's just so supportive and knows that there's enough business for all of us to go around. You might do the same thing as I do, but you don't do it the way I do, and I don't do it the way you do. So I just want everyone to keep supporting each other and keep supporting me and my business, and I'll certainly always return the favor.
Do you find that with COVID now, future weddings are opening up?
So it's weird because it's changing constantly. As of right now, our governor has not put any restrictions on the size of your event, but each venue is creating their own rules. So I know that you guys have your policies in place. I know other venues that have different policies in place. So right now in Florida, at least, it's really up to the venue and the couple and the host of what size or how they want it to look. I know some venues are saying no dancing. Some venues are saying absolutely you have to wear a mask. I have a couple that is getting married in Aruba, and then they get a call that Aruba has outlawed music to stop people from deterring them from hosting events. So, I mean, it just really depends on when and where what we're going to look like.
But you find that brides are starting to plan their weddings so it's forced now?
Oh yeah, a lot of them are pre-planning a second and third time. A lot of them are re-planning the whole thing as far as they had 200 people, there's 200 people, down in Miami, and now they're doing 20 people in their backyard. So it's been interesting for sure.
off that one, and it's a selfish question because I'm what you described with that wedding being canceled. We were getting married internationally, and we just put the whole thing on hold because we don't know what we want to do.
Right.
Do you, obviously when this is a little more wrapped up, do you see the industry just changing trend-wise? Like, I don't know, future backyard weddings, or like what do you foresee?
I don't. I see it happening a lot more because I personally love the more intimate aspect that is coming with these backyard small numbers, 25 to 50 people. But my own wedding was 150 people in a ballroom, so there's gonna be. It really depends on the client. I certainly hope for our industry that large events are still a thing. I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. I just don't know how long it's gonna be until that looks normal again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think like backyard weddings are getting a different perspective because we want 200 people too. That's why we're waiting.
Yeah.
But we would have 200 people in a backyard or something like that. So I don't know if you guys are going to see like a complete revamp of the industry or.
So what's happening now is a lot of couples are doing a small event now, a big party later. So I have a couple that was supposed to be 150 people in Delray next month, and instead now there's 20 people in Delray doing a ceremony and a small cocktail hour, and then they're gonna have a big party next year. So I think that's pretty awesome. We can celebrate twice.
Yeah.
But let's chat after.
Yeah, for sure.
There's another question over there.
Hey, Ashley. I think you spoke really well, very inspiring. But with all the setbacks with COVID and all the restrictions, I'm interested in what do you do when you have to like think of creative ideas? Like, is there like some kind of a ritual, or how do you get inspiration when there is a setback and somebody says you can't play music, you can't dance? Like, where do you find inspiration?
So, good question. Being in this industry, I always used to joke that I'm like MacGyver, because you never know what, I literally, you should see, I have my backpack for my wedding tomorrow. I have Velcro in there. You would think that's crazy, but you have no idea how often I have to use Velcro to pass through, like blue dots and blue guns, and you know how it's supposed to look, and you figure out a way to make it work, if that makes sense. There's definitely been things that's happened in COVID where I have to redirect my clients that it's the first time I've ever come across that problem, because, when have we ever had a worldwide pandemic, I have to figure out how to get my assistant to take temperatures tomorrow, and I didn't account for that in my timeline. So just figuring out as I go, to be honest, and just using my past experience and just making it work on the fly, because when you run into an issue in an event, you can't sit down and regroup. You have to think and you have to figure it out, and COVID certainly put me to the test of that. So, to be continued on that answer. Yeah.
Well, this question is more for a friend that she changed her major in college, so she stayed longer than me, and she just started event management.
Awesome.
But she hasn't really started anything, so what would you say is a good to start in the industry?
My story was I started at the absolute bottom so I could learn and get as much information as I could. I don't know if that's the only way to do it, but it certainly worked for me. I started serving and then bartending, and I would talk to the lady who was in the position I wanted always and say, how did you get here? How can I get here? Why did you do it that way? Just asking questions and learning. And then just visualizing where I wanted to be within each company and not stopping until I got there. Yes?
When you are planning an outside or backyard wedding, as you referred to, what do you do to not impact their budget extremely, but what do you do about weather and heavy winds? Because I know tents can be very expensive.
Yeah. So if you ask most event planners, they're usually a little more carefree with the plan B. I'm very, very stern on them. So I have a couple that's getting married next January, and they're outside, and I'd love to not put a tent over their backyard, but it's Florida, and you have to plan for plan B. And if that's the only option, I can't put a 50-foot tent up in an hour's time in case it starts raining. It just is what it
do you anticipate that?
There's studies that show 2022. There's, yeah. And I think there was a ton of headquarters in the area, and they're not even in office, so it's hard to gauge.
I think there was a question over here. Is there another question? Any more questions?
Yeah, me.
Oh, first.
Okay, her first.
Right, so I think that's kind of going off of what she asked, is it really depends on the person, I'm thinking, because I personally love the smaller, more intimate way of how they're fitting in. I think also people are taking, what's really cool, another silver lining, not to keep using that term, is the brides that were normally this crazy bridezilla, that's not making sure I'm Sally Cathy from Canada, and this person's gonna get here, and what if they don't like salmon type thing, is now like, no, I just wanna marry the young. And that's cool, because as a planner, that's all we want for them, is to, and you know that, I mean, we've been in this industry for 20 years, you can tell when it's for the show, or if it's for the marriage, and I, again, want to own a company that feeds my soul, and I can make, tons of money being a wedding factory, or I can plan weddings for people that genuinely enjoy the process and enjoy letting me help them plan.
Ms. Navarro?
It's my question. Right on my brain. This one more.
So how do you find is the best way to promote your business and to gain more clients and wedding?
1,000% is word of mouth and social media. That's all I've done. I've had people call for advertising opportunities. I'd love to do it. Companies that I've worked with other venues that have done it. My company is not there yet financially, so I've literally received every single client I have right now from other vendors that I've spent the past few months building relationships with and social media.
Okay, I came back and I'll be the last one, I'm sorry. So, looking into the future, when we go around and we see in the supermarkets, you have those wedding magazines, and we see like butter beer on the wedding bag, and it'll be Ashley, and we can say, oh, we know her way back when she started. So what's your big plan for the horizon?
So it's funny because I have my 5-year plan, my 10-year plan, and my husband laughs at me because every once in a while I'll have my 10-year plan, jump to my 5-year plan, if I have a really good day. My ultimate goal, I would love to be a snowbird, even though I ran away from New England. I'd love to spend summers up there. I'd love for my daughter to enjoy summers up there. I'd love to do weddings up there in their season. So my 10-year business plan for the event collective is to be up there and down here, both. I have already 2 events booked up there, which is awesome. So I can spend time with my family and enjoy the better weather. I'd love to have a brick and mortar shop with event items and that you can rent or buy for your parties, as well as home decor, and have that be my office. But just to continue enjoying it and to be financially stable doing it would be a definite plus.
That was awesome. I mean, you are a public speaker. Clearly, you have passion in what you're saying, and it came very naturally. It was very insightful for someone like me who's not in the event industry, and I would be terrible at it. Ask Chastity. You have to have patience, and you have to have detail, and all the things I don't. But I can tell you, the questions in the room, whether you're in the industry or not, it really gave us an idea of what that world is like, and it was really impressive. So, and I loved all the questions. I really loved that. I think the second half is what made it almost feels like the girl game. Like we were all just a part of this. So, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Before we go, I just want to let everyone know we're still extremely active on social media, or on social media, obviously, but on virtual events, on Zoom. We have probably, I can tell you, we have more events than we had before COVID. They're just on Zoom, but we do have the 2 in-person events, our breakfasts and now SWIB, and we'll continue to start adding more and more as we move forward. So our next event, I believe, is our Live After 5 Happy Hour, which is on the 26th, next Tuesday, and it'll be at 5 o'clock. It's on Zoom. But Chastity's pretty clever, making it completely interactive and getting people to get to know each other, even though it's on Zoom. So it's free to attend. It's for all of our members. And again, thank you all for being here. Thank you all new members for joining, and I hope to see you all again on Zoom or in person soon. Thank you, and thank you, Ashley.